Welcome to Murder with the Missus. I'm Darren.
And I'm Amy. And today we're going to tell you about Noah Donohoe.
Don't forget to check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Podbean, and Facebook. Like, share, subscribe. Make sure to hit the notification bell so you get the new episodes whenever they drop. And tell your friends as always.
Ireland, y'all. Belfast, to be exact. If you haven't heard of this case, be prepared for confusion. Those who have heard it, help us keep it out there. That's why we tell you about these cases that are unsolved or considered unsolved by the family. The more these are talked about, the higher the chance that an unsolved case could become a solved case. Plus, knowledge is power. Things can be learned, always, and victims deserve to be heard. Keep commenting, too. We like to hear what people have to say. Today's case is about 14-year-old Noah, who was doing the most. He was the only child to a single mom, Fiona, who was a healthcare assistant. Noah's dad, Emmanuel, moved to the United States after Noah was born, and he would Skype with him to keep in touch. Let's go down the list of the awesomeness of Noah. He was very into science and won awards in math. He was a cellist, played basketball, and was teaching himself Japanese. His goal at this time was to go into medicine. He was ambitious, and it seems like he was curious to learn lots of different things. The principal at his school said he was a perfect gentleman with the heart of a lion. Fiona refers to him as her soulmate.
It sounds like he was well known and well liked and had a loving home.
It sounds like it, yeah.
Yeah.
Now on Father's Day, June 21st of 2020, at 5:45 p.m., Noah left home to go meet his friends across town at Cave Hill Country Park. They were going to be working on a project for the Duke Edinburgh Award. He told his mom that he would call and check in at about 6:30. He left wearing a North Face jacket, gray sweat shorts with an emblem on one leg, and a blue hoodie, which is referred to as a t-shirt in some articles, Nike tennis shoes, and a black skateboard helmet. He had his backpack, which had his laptop and some books in it. And this is where the mystery begins. He didn't call his mom at 6:30 like they agreed. She was trying not to think the worst, and she was waiting. When he didn't call or come home by 9:30, she called the police. He was usually really good at doing what he said he was going to do, and he was punctual, so she knew something had to be wrong at this point.
Searchers and rescue teams went to work immediately. They found his cell phone and some of his clothes scattered.
Yeah. So his bike was found at the end of someone's driveway in a housing addition type area, but was not in the route that Noah would have taken to Cave Hill Park. They pull CCTV footage and they see Noah. And here's what they know. 5 minutes after leaving his apartment, so around 5:50 p.m., footage shows him riding down Royal Avenue. This is reported as a busy shopping district, so there's lots of people around. But when he makes it to the end of the street, his backpack is gone. No cameras see what happened to it, and no one seems to have witnessed what happened to it. This was about halfway down his route to the park. But he goes off track after this. At 6 o'clock, a person driving through an intersection sees Noah fall off of his bike. The driver stops to help him, but says Noah jumped back onto his bike and took off. CCTV quickly picks him up again going down York Road, so still off from where he should have been. And he is now completely naked. Clothes, helmet, shoes, all gone in about 2 minutes. 2 witnesses in the neighborhood he was in said that they obviously noticed him ride by. That sticks out to a person for sure, but they didn't tell police about it for 30 hours. And at 6:03, footage shows him getting off his bike and walking down the side of a house towards Seaview Park.
That was the last sighting of him that day. It was 18 minutes from the time he left his house to the time he disappeared.
18 minutes.
That's weird.
Yeah. Now the woman...
And you said whenever I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
You said when, like in the footage, like you watch the footage, you can actually see each one of the cameras where he like shucks a piece of clothing.
Yeah, so like the first time he's picked up, he's fully dressed, he's got his backpack, and then the next time you see him, he has no backpack, and then the next time you see him, he's fallen off his bike, everything seems okay, but then the next time you see him, he's completely naked. So every time you see him, something is different. Yeah, it's really, really odd. I mentioned that they found some of his clothes. So they found his jacket, helmet, and shoes scattered in the area. But his underwear, t-shirt and shorts have never been found. Now, 3 days later, Superintendent Clark held a press conference saying they believe Noah suffered a head injury when he fell off his bike in that intersection, and that caused him to be disoriented and remove all of his clothes within those 2 minutes. I didn't see anywhere where they said what caused him to fall off of his bike. So I've always been curious about that. Like, did his tire hit the curb wrong? Did he run over something that threw him off balance, or was he just riding and randomly fell over? Was it indicative of something else? You know where I'm going with that. Like, you'll see why a little later. Later that day, a pawn shop called the police saying that someone tried to sell them a laptop that they believe belonged to Noah. They also got a tip that that same man was at a party the night before trying to sell the laptop. And this turned out to be Daryl Paul, a local heroin user with a history of theft and armed robbery. Police tracked him down and he took them to a homeless shelter by Donohoe's apartment. His girlfriend, who stayed in that shelter, had the laptop. It was reported in one article that Daryl got a 3-month sentence for stealing the backpack. But another article said he wasn't actually charged because he was on surveillance in a different part of the city at the time that Noah went missing.
6 days after Noah went missing, his body was found in a storm drain behind the neighborhood he went missing in. Was that by where his bike was last located?
Right.
Okay.
Right. So his bike was left at the end of a driveway, and he walked next to that house. That's the last time you see him, is go behind that house to the side of it. And then he was found in the storm drain behind that neighborhood right there.
And they never, even though they didn't report it for 24 hours, they didn't think
to maybe look.
Let's search this area just in case.
There's a big question there.
Well, it sounds like we're not the only country that
Nope.
doesn't do their due diligence.
Nope. So the actual storm drain was about a half a mile from where the bike was found. And this is a large drain that had a big grate covering it. And it usually had a padlock on it to keep the general public out of it. A maintenance worker had been at this drain the week before and forgot to lock it back. Noah was found 950 meters, which the Google says is 3,116 feet and 9.5 inches into the tunnel. Many have said it would be highly unlikely that he could have made his way down there on his own because of obstructions and the way the chambers are. It was supposedly very difficult for the rescue team to retrieve his body when they found it. Police believe this fed into their theory of him being disoriented due to the head injury, that he made his way there in some type of episode. The family 100% does not believe that. In fact, the day he was found, police held a press conference saying there was no foul play before an autopsy or any further investigation was done. This is just one more thing that made Fiona believe that there was a cover-up going on. A medical examiner said the tide comes twice a day in the tunnels, so for 6 days his body would have been submerged at least twice a day. While his cause of death was drowning, the only water damage was to his hands and feet. And there is sewage in that tunnel. The sewage and bacteria that goes along with it would have done, and I quote, horrendous damage. They also said that there was no insect or rodent damage to his body. Many theorize that he was just killed and his body was placed in the tunnel. But the superintendent said that there was no foul play. Fiona said that there were 4 witnesses that heard screaming near the spot where Noah was last seen, but police never followed up on that.
Fiona and her sister push for an investigation. They are still pushing for that to this day.
Still.
I wouldn't blame them.
Still. Because they're saying there's no way he could have made his way into that tunnel. They couldn't even hardly get him out. He was so far in. Now, when they finally released documents in this case, they were heavily redacted. Northern Ireland Security signed a PII, which stands for Public Interest Immunity, in July of 2022, which allows some materials regarding the death and investigation to be redacted. Now, the family thinks this is bullshit. If there's no foul play suspected, why the secrecy? According to BBC News, there are around 600 pages of documentation and at least 119 redactions. Damn. Lawyers for PSNI, which is the Public Service of Northern Ireland, say the redactions are in relation to document reference numbers and grading of intelligence, saying there are some pieces of information that relate to the identification of sources and some information about police methodology and how they process, develop, and use intelligence. If disclosed, it would cause a real risk, not a fanciful risk, but a real risk to the wider public interest, including national security. And this just spun a theory that one of their informants may have been involved, and that is why they're covering it up. It also finally came out that on the day Noah went missing, 14 hours before to be exact, he was seen on CCTV sneaking out of his apartment at 3:30 a.m. It was raining pretty hard, and he was wearing a t-shirt, shorts, and flip-flops. He was also carrying headphones. He returned at 4:05 a.m., soaking wet, and no longer had the headphones or the flip-flops. And this shocked Fiona. She had been asked by police over 2 years ago, on the week that Noah disappeared, if he'd ever snuck out, and she didn't think that he could.
There was only one key to the apartment, and all of the doors squeaked very loudly.
Right. So she was like, there's no way he could sneak out. He wouldn't be able to get back in because I have the key, and I would have heard him if he left. But now that she knows about the sneaking out, it tracks with her suspicion that he may have been coerced in some kind of county lines illicit activity, which would be why he went into unfamiliar territory that day. There is an independent investigation going on, and one of the people involved is a former senior officer for the UK Serial Crime Squad. He said that because the police kept this information under wraps for so long, huge investigation opportunities were missed. Possible witnesses, surveillance footage, that's probably all gone now. And he also said that if he was the senior officer on this case, he would have immediately had to consider coercion or grooming of Noah. Where did he go that early in the morning? Who did he meet? Where did his headphones and flip-flops go? His last text sent from his phone that day was after he got home that morning. At 4:10 a.m., which was just 5 minutes after getting home, he texted a friend, Divine Comedy, LOL. Did they talk to this friend and ask why he was texting so early and what exactly Noah meant by that? We don't know. His last social media interaction was that afternoon at 3:15 p.m. when he sent a message to the Jordan Peterson Instagram page. Police didn't say what was in that message or if they were able to find it. Fiona's team did reach out to Jordan Peterson's people, who said that Instagram account that he had messaged that day was fake. So they don't know anything about the message either.
Noah was a fan of this dude. In fact, he had one of Peterson's books in his backpack that day. 12 Rules for Life.
Yeah. So he obviously liked this guy and followed his theories. He listened to his podcasts. And this played into the theory that this was because of religion. Peterson had talked about Sodom and Gomorrah that day. He focused on transformation in human beings like a baptism and return to water. Noah did hear this message because he Googled Sodom and Gomorrah that day. Some people believe he was attempting to baptize himself. The question is, how did he know about the drain? He supposedly wasn't familiar with that area. Many people who live in nearby neighborhoods didn't even know there was a drain there. But it wouldn't be too hard to believe that he could have known about that drain before that day. Adults get bored and do laundry or watch true crime documentaries, but kids explore. Maybe. I mean, do kids still do that these days?
No.
Okay. Well, I would think because if we were kids, we would definitely know something like that was there because we'd be out there.
Oh, yeah, no.
Looking around.
When we was younger, I mean, we was...
Everywhere.
I was everywhere. I know I was. As soon as I woke up in the morning...
Gone.
I was gone. Back before the street lights came on.
Yeah, because that's what you did back then. So It wouldn't be too far-fetched that if he was one of those type of kids that if he was so curious about life and things and wanting to know everything, it wouldn't be too far-fetched that he could have found that drain when nobody else knew it was there.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. And there was also a rumor that he was attacked by a needle-wielding heroin addict, not my words, who stabbed him with a needle when taking his backpack. And that's what happened on Royal Avenue. Then, as the drug worked its way through his system, he started acting more erratically. Now, a talk screen would clear that up, but that's another thing that hasn't been released. A man in jail confessed to his cellmate that he drowned Noah, and loyalists helped dispose of the body. Police said there were no grounds to make an arrest in either of these scenarios. There was a robbery theory, but that doesn't explain the part of him taking off all of his clothes.
Plus, he was in a place with a lot of people who didn't report anything like that. Mm-hmm. And there were surveillance cameras that didn't catch anything like that.
Yeah, like somebody attacking him with a needle.
Yeah, no needle-wielding
heroin addicts.
Yes. I am coming after you.
With my dirty needles.
I'm gonna get you.
Is that what a heroin addict sounds like?
I just imagine. I'm like looking at a bug-eyed, one-toothed guy with long hair, long beard, and I ain't gonna get you.
A greasy dude.
Yeah. With like, potato sack for clothes. I'm gonna get you. I don't know. I just went straight to
cartoon.
Like a Walt Disney villain.
Sounds like somebody off Hook.
No, it was the witch that handed her the apple.
Off of
Cinderella?
Snow White?
Snow White, yeah. Remember her look? Now imagine that woman with a beard. Anyway, sorry.
Never apologize for that, ever. That was great.
That's what I automatically went to. I don't know why.
Wow. The mind of Darren.
Yeah.
Now y'all see what I deal with. Okay. Now there was a mental health theory as well. Many believed all of his odd behavior is indicative of psychosis. Fiona and his friends say he seemed relatively fine, but it has been reported that he mentioned feeling blue just before he disappeared. Friends have said he mentioned coming out as well, so some say that he may have been struggling with his sexuality. A psychiatrist said that this could be suicide for fear of that. Fiona said he was brought up around same-sex relationships and spoke openly about everything, including that, with him. She doesn't believe he would struggle with something like that to the point of self-harm. But we also know the weight of public opinion or even a lack of self-acceptance is heavy, so that can't be ruled out completely. And we'll touch on one more theory because there's so many. This is a tough one because it does involve race. Some say that loyalists could be responsible. Now, I did a quick Google on the loyalists in Ireland, and the first headline I saw was, "Loyalists linked to 90% of race crime," and saw lots of articles about them and race wars in Belfast and Northern Ireland. And this is where I mentioned that Noah was biracial and Catholic. I couldn't tell you if this bears any weight, but it was reported that a few weeks before Noah went missing, another student at his school was attacked while biking by a mob of teens in this area. Supposedly, his mother said it was religiously motivated.
Fiona's main focus this whole time has been to try to get an actual investigation or documents that actually give her some kind of real evidence of what happened that day.
Yeah, she can't get any answers from anybody, from the police, from nobody. And it's hard to not have answers to what happened to your own child, your only child. She says that the police are incompetent. They said that they did house-to-house inquiries, and they did not. They said that they printed and distributed flyers. They did not. Usually in cases like this, they will pull trash cans from the area along his route, especially since he was missing stuff as he went along. But they let the trash companies empty the trash cans the next day without checking them. Instead of putting his bike in evidence and having forensic tests done on it, they left it outside in the rain because they didn't have room for it in the police station. And it was also not tested for forensics, whatever might have been left after being in the elements for however long. And a real kicker for me, they didn't take samples of the water in the storm drain to test and confirm that it was the same water as what was in his system. Because, of course, one theory is that he was taken and held, killed somewhere else, and then left in the drain. We won't know about that one. So the fight for answers continues. The majority of chatter I see online is that he ended his own life because he was feeling blue and Googled how to keep Satan away. No one close to him accepts that theory. A lot think his early morning walk that day was an indication of possibly a drug run or a practice for one. Maybe he got caught up in the drug game or was starting to, maybe being recruited.
This is where an investigation would have came in handy.
Yeah. Go figure.
To get answers.
Who needs that besides everybody, including his mom and dad? Come on. In October 2023, news reports say that police were looking into a photo that surfaced on social media of graffiti referring to Noah's death. Graffiti appeared on the wall, making a reference to the disappearance and death, along with accompanied notes that gave a name and an address. There were also a postcard with an image of the Crown Bar in Belfast and a blue teddy bear at the scene. His mom said she expects them to investigate it thoroughly. So we will see. That was many months ago now. And this picture is online, so it's Googleable. And it says he was murdered in a bathtub. So again, they should have took samples of the water in the drain and checked it against the water in his lungs and stomach. A lot of times you only get one shot at stuff like this, and we say that a lot. And how many times have we covered a suicide that screams murder?
Way too many.
Way too many. It just drives me nuts. This one has always bothered me since I originally came across it because of the weirdness of the whole thing with the surveillance and his stuff scattered all along the route. And the fact that he removed all of his clothes, but they couldn't find all of his clothes. I mean, they probably could have had they looked. And hopefully the independent investigation will shed some light and give his family some answers. People often refer to this as closure, but again, we've talked about that before. There's never closure when you lose a child. You can close certain aspects of it. So this closure would have been him missing, and now he's found. They have closure on that, but he's still gone, and they have no answers, so there's no closure on that part. And you don't ever really heal from this kind of loss. So the word is out there, no investigation. We need to know what's going on.
Yeah, it sounds like, I mean, they need to do their job, man.
It sounds like they didn't do anything.
No, because, I mean, if they actually went and knocked on doors and all that stuff, I mean, then they would have searched that area where they found his bike.
True.
And they would have probably found him.
True. If he was there then.
That day. I mean, that's what I'm saying.
If he was there, yep.
I mean, and if they knew about them storm drains, wouldn't they have been like, hey, let's go check those storm drains?
Yeah, because the city obviously knew they were there.
Yeah,
they had
just
maintenance.
in case, let's go check those.
Especially if they would have just went and looked and saw, oh, this one's unlocked.
Yeah, exactly. But,
come on.
I don't know. We see it a lot. We see it too much.
Too much.
But I don't know. That's the end of this one. Glad you guys listened. Catch us on the next one. And don't forget, tell your friends.
Bye.